Hello everyone, another visionary talk today with Ivan.studer. He is a Swiss guy who did a big invention for leadership. He was thinking about stuff I would say normally nobody is thinking about. We had talked before the talk so that we know each other a little bit more. My name is Andrea Betschart. I'm from Essential Coaching. I do regularly, unregularly visionary talks with visionary leader, and I would say Ivan.studer is one of these leaders. And I think we could say you tried to do the impossible possible, to make it possible.
A good way to describe it. Yeah.
Ivan, could you present yourself? What's your company? Where are you from?
Okay.
What's the idea of your company?
Okay, good, perfect. So first of all, thank you very much for being able to be here with you and actually to have this kind of interview with you, trying to answer all the questions you have, which is an absolute privilege. And I'm very glad to try to answer all the questions as easy as possible. Good. First of all, giving a little bit background about myself. So who am I? Who's the organization behind? I will go step by step to those different aspects. Might be talking about me because this shows a little bit as well about the organization I own, and with this all the employees we have and what we are doing in our daily business. Okay, so today I'm an HR professional, at least this is what most people would say, with a focus on leadership development, with more than 20 years of experience. So it means I have already a certain age. This might be recognizable. Hairs are a little bit more blonde or gray, however you want to see that, right? So I started originally my career in IT. So I come really from a completely different area. This is as well where I did my first degree. I worked for an Indian IT company, which was as well a great opportunity for me to go and work in India and as well in other places. Nevertheless, it's this kind of cultural diversity which I experienced when I was in my 20s, and which was a huge, let's say, learning to me that really people in other countries, they are living and understanding completely things differently, right? So this was the first aha moment in my life, I would say.
What I would say, just to jump here a little bit in, to give it some direction, who was important for the stuff you invented today?
Yeah, I mean, at the end, IT,
basic.
IT is still, because the solution we provide is IT based. That's the truth. I think today, whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, about state-of-the-art solutions, so IT, I mean, we recognize during the pandemic, IT is everywhere. It's just a question, do we use it or not, and how do we use it, right? So especially if you talk about artificial intelligence, what for are we using it, how do we use it, the data and so on is a very crucial aspect, which we don't have that much. So we are not actually that much into trouble things with those. Okay,
so but you are one of these leaders who give a direction for this artificial intelligence to use it wisely and respectful, I would say. So what I learned about also, I did the last talk. So if you are interested in, look also the talk with May Mabu. It's about artificial intelligence as well. And really this, I think this responsibility we have as leaders to use them wisely. Then we give the impulse and the direction where we want to have artificial intelligence. So we are not here to deny it, but we are here to give them a direction where we want them to have, because artificial intelligence is learning from us. And I think the more important stuff you also learned because of your history is these different cultures who gave you the impulse to create what you create today, also this respect, with this confidence, with this wisdom inside it. So I give you back to
absolutely, I fully agree. At the end, everything is a tool. The question is, how do you use it, right? A knife is a tool. it can be a weapon. It's up to you how to use it. And I think we have to go as well in deep discussion about how to use artificial intelligence. At the moment, it's a tool, but yeah, it can be used in different areas. So this was as well the time when I got in some new roles over the time in these first years. I had a nice development, I would call it, at least like this. I became in some management positions and there was actually the time as well when I recognized different aspects, HR related aspects, right? So it was about personal development, leadership development, cultural, organizational development, everything was there. And this was really shortly after the millennium, where I was actually forced to get more into those things, and where this was actually as well, let's say, the starting point when I recognized this is really the topic. I mean, IT is still there. Nevertheless, talking about what I would like to do, what I'm interested is clearly now this connection between IT and HR. How can we use IT in helping HR to solve a couple of different aspects? So this was a little bit what I did in the past. And today, when we talk about what do we do, this is something that can actually easily be described with a couple of different studies or surveys, not something we did. They are actually done by other companies, and what they are doing is something that is very simple. So we have an example, Harvard Business Review. They were actually asking in 2015 why leadership trainings fail, and they gave a complete report about it. Yeah. McKinsey was following this with the title, Why Leadership Development Programs Fail, going in the same direction, analyzing and giving ideas how to solve. Boston Consulting followed. Reasons leadership training is a huge waste. Training is not granted the drive business. That's hard if you have this. And nevertheless, as well, Colin Ferry said 55% of executive people judge their return on invest on leadership development as fair to very poor. And if you see that, I mean, if I say, you may say, well, this is an individual. He wants to do business. That's why he comes up with those things. But I'm actually not the only one. We have really renovated organization who did, analyzing this, and already now 8 to 9 years back, and coming really to the same result. What does that mean at the end of the day? What we are trying to do is making leadership development really sustainable. What does that mean, sustainable? Sustainable not in the terms of the environment, it's much more about really that is an impact. Therefore, what Colin Ferry said, the return on investment. So you invest in something, and then you need to have something that comes back. And this is something which is crucial in our understanding, because whenever you recognize that an organization has to go to reorganization and you need to save money, learning development is one of the first topics where they say, stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing whatever. Even though we say, well, the education of people is one of the main assets for the future of the organization. So on one side, we say skills and skilling up people is crucially important to be competitive, but at the same time, when we need to save money, it's the first area, or among the first areas, where we say, stop delivering that, stop delivering this. So it's a little bit a tricky reality. So
but I think it's the reality we have also when we look at all the different education system. I did professional education for about 15 years, and it was always this stuff. We didn't get the money to do it because it was the first corner to cut the money, and everybody was saying it's the most important stuff you can do, but when it goes about the money and the recognition, we cut it. Yeah. So I think it's continuing. So
absolutely, yeah. If you are an operational manager and you need to have a new production plan, the CFO is asking you how much is the investment and when is the money back. So how many years, 5 years, whatever the number is, it's a calculation that is there. So if you go with a program, a development program, a personal development program, team development, what are those numbers? How can you prove that it's worth to invest time and money in those things, right? So this is actually the crucial aspects. That's why as well those organizations were mentioning that. But to get a clear understanding in this, we first of all need to understand when does learning happen. So let's analyze some activities we have in our daily life. When you learn to cook, when you learn to swim, when you learn to ride a bicycle, you can read an endless amount of books about it. You can actually talk with other people about it. Nevertheless, you haven't yet learned to ride a bicycle. Because riding a bicycle means you need to sit on the bicycle and you need to pedal. And then you recognize if it's working or not.
Yeah.
If you learn to cook, you can read the cooking book. Nevertheless, you need to do it. You need to understand how much of salt and pepper and all of those systems.
So it's the training.
It's the doing part. It's learning by doing, right? And I think this is something I personally like very much. Albert Einstein once said, learning is experiencing. Everything else is just information. This is to me absolutely the key information. It's really about experiencing everything else. And this is as well might be then the weak part of quite a lot of programs. You get just the information, and clearly you talk about the information during the program. But at the end, when are you applying the information so that the transformation from information to knowledge is really going on? This is when you really apply it. Okay, so applying is actually the most crucial part of it. And then we have to see.
I think it's also this part, like education and money. It's this part nobody wants to do, or it's also not the recognition here how important this is. We evaluate the knowledge, we give them much more value than the training and the embodiment from the stuff. So and also the experiences.
Fully agree.
And so I think it's a hard field you have chosen for your invention.
I think there are only hard fields. There is nothing easy today. Nothing is easy existing anymore. Yeah. So this is actually the crucial part, and I'm working there for more since 20 years in this area. And what I recognized is really this area, the transformation, you know, from information to knowledge. And this is exactly in the doing part when this has happened, right? So I was actually focusing because I recognized this is not working, even though participants at the end of the training, they were very motivated, they were very enthusiastic. They came and said, hey, this is a brilliant training. I really admire what I was actually able to experience here. And I'm actually fully energized to go back now and to work. But as we know, a similar reality when you go for vacation, before and after the vacation, this is the most crucial time, because before you go to the vacation, you have to work like mad to finish plenty of tasks, because your deputy is there, but not to do everything what you did. He or she may picks up the most crucial parts, but everything else, either you do it before or after the 1 week or 2 weeks when you're back. So you come back and then there's a pile of workload there and you have to start to work on this. And this is the same reality. You have a program, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, might be 5 days. You're coming back. So the focus, you being completely energized going back, is kind of distracted, because first you have to deal with those things. And then something that is very known to everyone, you know, out of the sight, out of the mind. When we don't see anymore what is the important part, we just forget about. So in the beginning, we were very motivated to do, but step by step, on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, the motivation and even the ideas of what we are going to do are actually just gone. And then at the end of the day, nothing happens. We go back to our roots, that's what we did always. And this is the brutal reality. So that's why the return on invest is criticized. And yes, they have right to criticize the return on invest on those leadership development program, but as well other programs, is not really ideal. Okay.
But when I explain this stuff, I use this picture like with the daily stuff. You're on a highway. So that's clear, that's easy, that's just tempomat in, and then you don't need much brain force, because our brain is super lazy. It doesn't like to work very much, so it saves energy, and so it loves highway. But sometimes we need some jungle paths, and when you start a new training, and if you start getting new knowledge and then start a training, then you are on a jungle path. And that's hard. And you need a lot of energy. And you have
Absolutely,
stuff
absolutely.
even for the first time. So often the people go back on the highway because it's easier, they are used to, and the brain supports more the highway than the jungle path.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's also one of the reasons why it's most of the time we are driving on a highway.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, on one side, it sounds might be not that nice, but it's routine. On one side, we say, well, routine could be over the time boring, but nevertheless, we need as well to admit it's easy to handle. As you said, our brain is mainly going the direction to save as much as energy as possible, right? And we have to deal with this. Going out of this comfort zone, we're calling this the highway. I call it the comfort zone. Whenever I'm hearing everything is under my control because I did most of the tasks already. But there is no learning in this area. I need to get out of the comfort zone where things are not fully clear to me. I have a certain knowledge out of different projects, tasks, and so on, but not exactly the way the current task I have to deliver is. And I need to start to combine. What do I know about this? What do I know about that? And then I need to start to combine. And at the same time, I need to accept learning means failing. Mm-hmm. And then we come to an aspect that is called failure culture, error culture. Do we have it, yes or not? If I go and reflect back to a report that is actually published last year by Ernst & Young, they say that up to 82% of managers have stated they have not admitted their own mistakes or they did only partially, which is brutal. I mean, if you see up to 82%, depending on the industry, the environments on are saying not or only partially. So it means on one side, we try within the organization to establish an error culture, but at the same time, we recognize it's very difficult. And the reasons are very diverse. It's about concern about career disadvantages, fear of losing job, concern about salaries, the bonus, which might be not paid out, and so on. People have still fear about talking about their things. Nevertheless, making mistakes, making errors is part of the learning. So when I went to a learning development program, leadership development program, I go back on one side, I have the daily business, the highway to deal with it. At the same time, I need to have the time to start to implement, which leads as well to the aspect my manager is a key person in that development. My manager needs kind of to allocate time for me where I can try and fail. Might be I fail, not always, but sometimes I will fail. But do I have it? If you know this highway is there and I have to do all those things, where do I find the space? And we have to admit as well, today most organizations are very much into effectiveness and efficiency. Everything has to be done in a very good way. People are talking about
in a quick, in a high-speed way. So
yeah,
don't
absolutely.
try something on the highway by high speed. It's really prefer to go to the jungle path where you can learn and do experiences very slow. So it's a little bit safer than to do experiences on the highway.
Absolutely, yes. And therefore, people are as well, you recognize that they're exhausted after a day. There are so many things that they have to deliver. And then apart from that, they should learn new things, which is really a challenge in itself, right? And so therefore, we were thinking about how can we provide an environment where actually all those challenges are covered in the sense of that you can try and fail without any negative impact, where you can apply information immediately after you have heard them, which means learning through doing, the doing and learning part, which is there. And this leads us usually to something that is known as a simulation. Simulations are there that you can train yourself. In example, in the medical environment, simulations are very known. There are physicians really working and trying and doing, and then the system tells you stop, now you're hurting, or you were actually cutting too deep and so on. So the system, the simulation provides feedback. What we were doing, we were actually going and looking for, is there something possible to create a simulation where leaders really can learn to lead in a safe environment. And the result is FLIGBY. FLIGBY is based on a very known professor, Professor Michał Csikszentmihalyi, he's known for the flow. He's as well one of the grounding fathers of the positive psychology, and all of his works, scientific works, are basically in FLIGBY involved. Which means on one side, whenever you talk about a simulation, you need to make sure, is that simulation scientifically validated? So is it on one side an example delivering an assessment about the skills? So if I am playing and doing things there, if I try to apply, then I need to get a feedback system. Feedback system on one side that someone provides me really feedback, that was a good move, that you should actually reconsider, you should change it in another way. This is one way of feedback, and another way is what I just addressed. It's the skills, really a system that measures the skills I'm using. How much do I use them? How is it the usage and so on? And at the same time, because we were talking about Michał Csikszentmihalyi, we talk about flow. Flow means at the end of the day, am I able to move my team members out of the comfort zone in this stretch zone, which is outside, which means the task I have to deliver is slightly more difficult comparing to my experience and my knowledge. So there must be a tiny gap in between, which leads to the point of, how do I solve this? This is the area where I'm in flow, because I'm fully concentrated, everything is gone, and I actually like what I do. This is exactly the area. So the question is, am I as a leader able to bring my staff into such situation? And this is what FLIGBY as well is measuring. FLIGBY is measuring, are you able, you as a leader, to move people into flow? So we're talking about skill sets which are measured. We talk about the flow part that is there. Is it able to, that you're doing this? And as well, something we should not forget, leaders are not only leading people, leaders are as well leading business. Doesn't mean an entire organization, it could be just a part of it, but you as a leader, you have to take decisions. And this is as well covered in FLIGBY. So we're not talking only about classical people leading, we are talking about as well about business leading. How do you take decisions? Are there sometimes situations when you recognize there is a certain strategy, you have to find this is the strategy, and now there's a business opportunity. And might be this business opportunity is not really fitting the strategy. Are you still going because there is money involved, or are you not going? I'm not talking about now fraud or whatever. It's just the question, are you always aware of those different aspects and how you can deal with those things? And this is actually the part. Yeah.
What you reach now is really to close the gap where we talked at the start. You make all this stuff we talked at the beginning is not measurable, is now measurable because you did this mention of this FLIGBY simulation, leadership simulation program, where leaders can go and train their skills in a safe way, but you bring them on the jungle path so they can left highway, train in a safe with a guide, I would say. So it's AI guide, but it's still a guide there, and train regularly their skills.
Yeah, absolutely. They can go whenever they have time. They go, they log in the simulation, they train, they see how they do, they get the results. And here again, it's actually used as a blended learning program, which means you have to go and play it several times through. Because if you just play it once, you just have an assessment, whatever kind of psychometric assessment you ever did, it's just status quo, here you are. But this doesn't mean that you ever learning. So now something needs to happen. You need to see the results and you think, okay, I'm a little bit weak in that area, or not good in that area, but I'm good in this area. So how do I use those information? And this information is used when you go and play through the second time. So you use those information and you adapt. And then you create new results, and then you see what the development is. So and over again, you do this, and then you really have a clear development curve. Yeah. And with this development curve, you have as well the impact on the team members, all the people around, which is at the end of the day, if your team members recognize there is a change in behavior of you as a leader, which motivates them, which is leading them to work and flow, the impact is a very simple one. They will deliver better performance. Yeah. That's simple. That's a known fact, right? And with this, you can even then go to the CFO and say, look, we did this training and there's a certain impact and we can show it to you. Even a return on investment today, organizations are able to show the return on investments. It's a little bit a complex part, but it's possible really to show how this is working.
Yeah, because you made it measurable, and we can say you did invent like some motivation machine for the whole company.
Yeah, it's. I mean, at the end, you know, like Csikszentmihalyi, there are many fathers or mothers of those things. This is not about me. Where there are colleagues of mine, like Sat and other people, they were contributing mainly. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you have the different scientists, you have managers who are involved in those things, especially the work of Michael Csikszentmihalyi. Those are the information which just need to be brought together, and then you can use that, and then you can work with those things. At the end, the solution is there, and this is the main aspect. It's not anymore about who created and what. Now it's much more about the organization, that they know it is available. They can actually really send leaders for such kind of trainings and really see the results. It's visible, it's there. And all those different aspects about failure cultures, error cultures, about, you know, really applying, learning by doing, everything is really covered in the simulation.
What gives you the courage to just jump on this subject and to have the confidence that you will succeed in it, to find a solution, to make all this stuff measurable, and to create a tool who gives a solution?
I mean, now we see the system is there, the simulation is there, and it works. And we really tested it. You know, we were really testing it in the sense of, let's be now today, play once, and let's say, and not such a pleasant leader, by really going against the people. And then you can really see how the results are just dropping down immediately fast. So on one side, it's there, now it's here. And as well, going on with this kind of solution, as I said, at the millennium's time, I was changing, going to this kind of personal development, leadership development, which means now I'm more than 20 years in this industry, and I've seen really quite a lot of solutions. And when I see this, and I know all the issues which we were just discussing, I can say that's the only way how it works. It's really there. I can see it. I absolutely believe in it. I think this is might be something you need to have. I mean, there are people which I even not have to name, but they were believing in something, and they were just absolutely sure that's it. And clearly in the beginning, you face obstacles because not everyone is there to just trust your idea. You need to show, you need to prove, and so on. But sometimes it's really worse if you have an idea. And if you are convinced, and after a certain while you see even the solution, it's there, you know, you fall in love with it. This is yours. And you see it, and you're absolutely convinced. And this is whenever we talk with the different people, not necessarily customer, really just among the partners and so on, it's really there that you have a bunch of people together and they are 200% convinced. And it's not about, we want to become billionaires with this system. It's not about this. It's much more about, look, there is a solution available that makes learning, especially for leaders, in an easy way possible, with a huge benefit.
And for the listeners out there, or the seers, the viewers, that's one of the most important abilities visionary leaders have. They fell in love with some stuff, and then the confidence comes. That's the only solution, and that's the one solution I will develop, I will push, and that we will have in some years. And I think that's also the fear behind, and that is why I'm doing these talks with you, to show these persons, to show this fear, this burning desire, this love also for stuff, for solutions. They are not here at the moment when you start working on stuff. So that's really this way from the impossible to the possible. And I think that's a sparkling way, that's an interesting way, with a lot of obstacles, with a lot of time where you're doubting, where you have, where you don't really believe, where you also have to fight with
plenty of sleepless nights. Yeah, really. sky and earth, you're somewhere always between there. You have nights when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you just think, my goodness, this is not, that is not, and it's done, it's over. I mean, it's over with me in that perspective. I can't sleep anymore, which means I'm at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to the office to try to fix those things. And as usually, they are not just once a week. If this starts, I am always 2, 3, 4 nights in this loop. And then it's kind of resolving, and then it goes up to the other area where you have the kind of adrenaline when you see how things are working, and then your eyes are just blinking, and then you're on the opposite side, right? You have this kind of energy. You are in the flow. Then you are really, this is exactly what I always wanted to see, what I always wanted to do. And this gives this kind of inspiration. But as you said, it's really a pathway that goes up and down dramatically.
And I think that's life, and that's so it could be that as a child you loved to play on this balançoire.
Yeah, it could be.
I
can't
think
remember.
you played it high, so to jump and to fall
Yeah.
down. And that the people they more love comfort zone. They just did a little bit in movement, but I think you had been one of these child who liked these high motions, and. Yeah, that's life, I think, but visionary leaders are doing that in more intense motions, more intense feelings, with more ideas. They're really burning, they're going for their ideas. And I think when we start, or more people allow them again to restart thinking about the impossible and try to make it, or do the way to make it possible, we would have more power, more intense life, more feelings in our life, more interesting relationships, more interesting stuff to experience. And when we go back to you as a person, because that's also behind each mission is a person. When do you think started this burning desire to change something in for human beings? Because here you're no longer working for technique. You started by working with technique. Now you take the techniques to support human beings. When start this love with human beings and to support them?
I think it was really connected when I was still working in the IT, but I got in this kind of positions when I became a general manager of organization, and when I really had to deal with people. And this was actually something, one of the leaders I have still in my mind, this is now really long time back. It was the leader or my manager who actually addressed me, and he offered me the first leadership position, or the first leader manager position, however you want to see that. And it was very interesting because he asked me on a Friday afternoon, and I was so keen. I already wanted to say yes, I want to get it, because I was hoping already since months that finally someone sees it, that I'm capable and so on. But he told me at the time, look, I don't want to hear an answer now. I only want to hear it on Monday. So you have the entire weekend. Good, this was not actually what I expected, and I was very much frustrated because I was just waiting Friday that it finally gets Monday so that I can go back to him and tell him, look, here's the answer, yes. And then being Monday in his office, I wanted really to say, yes, I want to have this kind of job. He said, Ivan, before you give me the answer, I want to give you another thought in your mind. Now at the moment you're working with computers. The benefit of computers, they have a button. Switching off and on. No, if those guys are not working anymore normal, you just switch it off, you reboot, and in 99.9% of the cases, the system works again fine. Humans don't have this button. If someone is mad at you, if someone is in a bad mood, don't even look for this button. It's not existing. You have to deal with this reality, no matter if you like it or not. And then I was really at the moment thinking, okay, he should have told me this on Friday, because then I would have really. And then he told me, look, I know you want this job. It's there. you can get it. I was not really waiting for your answer. I knew the answer already. But to me, it's important that you are aware how your future will look like, that you have to deal with something completely different. I think this was for me really the starting point when I said, okay, you know, there is the difference. And what do I like more? Switching off, switching on and rebooting, or dealing with what is there? And I recognized this is it. I want to deal with this kind of complexity. I want to deal with, yeah. And there, this was the starting point.
Yeah, okay, that's a cool also metaphor. I love it very much, this reset button, because I once went in marketing campaign with I have your reset button. So we have some little buttons, but not really like a machine do the reboot. And we more often have to deal with what is here. This was really a very wise man who gave you this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you still took the decision to say, yes, I want to face these obstacles. What me brings to the last question, when you have this magic wand, I'm always asking this question, every participant of the visionary talk, because I find it so interesting, also the answer I get. And when you have this magic wand, what will you conjure today for your mission?
Be more brave. I think generally, I mean, you were touching this aspect already. I am absolutely convinced people can much more than they believe. So we are our best friends, and at the same time, we are our worst enemies. You have always this kind of the angel and devil, you know, that is actually there jumping around, do it not. We should be more brave. An example, if I see the reality today, artificial intelligence, everyone knows somehow what it means. And most people have used either ChatGPT or whatever other product. But if you see then another reality, an example, Forbes has just released a research. In the German area, only 50% of the companies are using artificial intelligence to support the process. I'm not talking about ChatGPT. This is just one aspect of artificial intelligence, but using process that helps to get things faster, right? And if you see only 15%, yeah, and this is what I say, you need to be brave, and it's risky. And I'm absolutely there. But yeah, you know, it was as well very risky to send 3 astronauts to the moon, because we didn't know exactly what will be there.
No, and if they will
those 3 guys, they said, we are willing to accept the risk. We are getting in the rocket. We are up there. So far, all the scientific people, they said it's safe and so on, but someone needs to be the first one. And I'm not sure if I would have been brave enough to sit in the rocket, not even today, but being more brave and saying, let's try, let's give a try. Clearly, you can actually calculate the risk, but there is once as well the moment where you need to say, look, it's worth to risk and to do.
Super cool. Thank you for this last answer. I love it. I love it very much. So if you want to work together with ivan.studer, we have the contact at the end in the description. If you want to work with me, I do also trainings for leaders, visionary leaders, and here we do work on the impossible to make possible, to give you this strength, this braveness, this courage to really do it, to do it in another way, to do it in your way. It's for me very important to show you how to do it your way, because we have so much solutions out there to do it in some kind of way, and that's never your way. And the visionary leaders are here to find their own way, to do it in their own way. And so we have all the contacts down there. Thank you for looking this, again, this one of very interesting visionary talks. Ivan.studer, thank you for being here, for sharing your vision, your impacts, and your thoughts, and see you soon. See you again on the next visionary talk. Bye.
Thank you for the opportunity.